What's going on here? Are we on? Yes. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the live stream. Today we're talking about how absolutely out of depth our government ministers are in the United Kingdom. I saw a little picture of not Rachel Reeves, the other one, Yvette Cooper as Foreign Secretary, and I was looking at her and I was thinking, wow, she is absolutely out of her depth. She has no idea what she's doing. But luckily, she doesn't have to, because hopefully there's good people behind her that are telling her what to do. So if you live in the United Kingdom right now, all we have to look forward to, it seems, is war and taxes. That is kind of what we've got coming in the foreseeable future. So I'm going to first start about the taxes that are coming. And what I want to say is, because I think a lot of people forget how bad we are getting taxed in the United Kingdom right now. So guys, look, if you were going to buy something, like if you're planning on buying something and you're holding off, what I'm going to say now is not financial advice. I'm not qualified for that. All I'm saying is that I think in this new budget at the end of November, it's in November, when this new budget happens, I think prices of everything are going to go up. So if you can buy something now, even though you think it's expensive, it's going to be a lot more expensive. I did this myself with when I built my extension, I didn't buy cladding. I didn't buy premium cladding for the outside of my extension. I was like, I'm not paying that much. I'll see if I can get it cheaper. I went back a couple of weeks later and it had already gone up. So look, guys, I do believe the price of everything is going to go up in November. So I'm just saying that now before we talk about taxes. So when we talk about taxes, what we've got to understand is when this government let me just change that screen because I can't look at that picture of Rachel Reeves. When this government came in, what they actually said is they're not going to raise taxes. They're not going to raise taxes on working people, and all their everything they've got is budgeted. Well, it turns out literally this government have raised taxes at every opportunity. There's not been a chance that the government have been able to raise taxes, and they have not raised taxes significantly. They're forcing people into unemployment. We have mass levels of unemployment in the United Kingdom. We have more people competing for less jobs. The cost of living is going up. People are literally just in survival mode. And I've been speaking to anecdotally, I've been speaking to people, and they're just like, yeah, let's just get this war over and done with. I'm just sick of this now because it's death by 1,000 swords. So taxes, and that's going to hit everyone in the pocket just before Christmas. Now, I don't know if that's planned, but this does seem like it's going to come just before Christmas. Just before the final payday just before Christmas, like November's payday. That's your Christmas payday, and everything's going to go up. So guys, look, I'm just telling you now, don't be shocked. Don't be surprised when this happens. So Rachel Reeves has been urged by a think tank to cut national insurance and increase income tax to create a level playing field and protect workers' pay. The Resolution Foundation said that the Chancellor should send a decisive signal that she will make tough decisions on tax. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I just don't trust the government. I just don't trust at all at the moment. If you have a small business, it's virtually impossible to employ anyone. It is. It's virtually impossible to employ anyone if you have, if you have a small business. And then we've got the conflict in the conflict. Can we call it the conflict in Ukraine anymore? Because this is spilling out now. It's spilling out into it has spilled out into Europe, I guess. So Ukraine war latest. UK tells UN it will confront Putin's planes if they violate NATO airspace. Now, Putin's plane airspace incursions risk direct confrontation with NATO, Yvette Cooper says. Look, Yvette Cooper is massively out of her depth in this role. I just hope that there's people behind the scenes saying, right, Yvette, this is the script you're going from. You don't deviate from that script. Do as you're told. So I think Yvette Cooper, I'd like to think Yvette Cooper won't make any decisions that she's not told to. Equally, she'll make the decisions that she's told to. So the UK Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has said that the UK will confront Russian planes violating NATO airspaces, as she warned Moscow of risking a direct armed conflict with Western allies. We stand ready to take all steps necessary. I love that word necessary. It sounds like a Christopher Nolan movie. We will take all steps necessary to defend NATO. We'll take all steps necessary to defend NATO skies and NATO territory. We are vigilant. We are resolute. And if we need to confront planes that are operating in NATO airspace without permission, we will do so, she said, addressing Vladimir Putin in her remarks at an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. So here's where we are, guys. All right. Right now, this is where we're heading towards. And I've been saying this. I'm convinced in my analysis now that I don't need any other information. NATO will give the first. My opinion would be that in my analysis, NATO. I've got to be careful on TikTok. In my analysis, NATO are going to fire this first missile. There's no way around it now. NATO will be firing that first missile. It will be a Russian aircraft. Maybe it's by accident, because right now there's no error. There's no error for accidents. Ukraine and its allies met in New York yesterday to discuss fighter jets and drone incursions into Estonia, Poland, and Romania. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We are heading towards this Friday. If you guys have been watching the channel, we said, there's a likelihood of something happening this Friday, Saturday weekend. I don't know if that's going to happen, but there are a lot of data points pointing towards that. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to jump up now and I'm going to get the comments. That's what we're talking about. Let me click that. Lots of people joining. Bonnie Blue. Oh, no, it's not blonde. No, right. Sorry, I thought it was somebody else. Debbie 1973 saying good morning, everyone. Morning to you. Janet Ryan Grasshopper's joining. Hello, Janet Ryan Grasshopper. Debbie, share the live. Thank you guys for sharing the live. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you can all do me a favor, if you've not done so already, can you hit that follow button if you're watching on TikTok? Can you hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube? And all the buttons that help this channel grow, because that really helps me out. And share my stuff, ladies and gentlemen. That really helps me out with the algorithm when you're sharing my stuff. PJ McCab is joining as well. Hello, PJ McCab. Jules 61 is saying good morning, everyone. Lisu saying good morning. So is Jodie Lee, Natalie 87, Betty Penny, Danny Boy, and Daniel Payne is saying treadmill intervals with Raven on this morning. Yeah, you know what? It's like I think Daniel Payne. I can imagine Daniel Payne now on the treadmill. And it's like it's like the beginning to it's like the beginning to a war movie where you're getting told what's happening. NATO Security Council meets in New York to discuss Estonia, Poland, and Romania, and then the next week it's like Estonia shoots down Russian jet. Vladimir Putin vows to defend all jets over the airspace, and all of a sudden we're just like, oh yeah, this kind of is a war right now. And listen, I don't know if you guys watched my video earlier. Russell, was it Russell? Yeah. Russell Brand has posted. In fact, let me get this up. Give me a second. Russell Brand posted on X last night. Hang on, let me find his page. Exactly what he said. So Russell Brand posted on X last night, and he was talking. What's this? And he was sharing a picture. He shared a picture of Keir Starmer. Let me hang on. There he is. Give me a second. Wow, he posts a lot. Maybe it's gone. Oh yeah, there it is. So, is this real? If it is real, is it important? If it's important, what needs to be done? So he's posting there the from the image of Keir Starmer when he went in 1986, when he went over to Czechoslovakia, now Czech Republic, and he was part of a communist workers' camp. And Keir Starmer was identified by the Russian authorities as someone that they could manipulate in the future. I'm not making that up, ladies and gentlemen. That is literally, that is literally mainstream media stuff. I was talking about this over a year ago, and with a couple of clicks on Wikipedia, you make those connections to Keir Starmer, his background, and who he may or may not have been subverted by. Now, obviously, I wouldn't be able to say that he has been subverted. All I can do is present you the information and say, look, guys, do you think these things could have happened? So when we look, when we look at the decisions that Keir Starmer's making right now, in my mind, the only question in my mind is, does Keir Starmer, is he taking decisions? Is he following orders, or does he genuinely believe in what he's doing? Now, I genuinely don't know. One of the goals of subversion is to, you have these people who are ideologically subverted, so they make those decisions anyway, and they think it's their own decision, but it's not. They've been subverted at a younger age. So I would say Keir Starmer, there's a lot of question marks over him, over what he was doing in Czechoslovakia, who he was associating with, where did Lord Ali get his money from, who did Lord Ali work for, and those whole networks and circles, And I would say the same people. I would say Donald Trump and Keir Starmer have got a lot of mutual friends. And I'm not throwing dirt on Donald Trump. I'm just saying it's a murky world, guys. I've got some I know some quite murky people as well. It doesn't mean I'm involved with anything they do. In fact, I disassociate myself with them. But when you are in those echelons, you will rub shoulders with people who are murky, and that's the reality. You will rub shoulders with those murky people. It doesn't mean that you're murky, but politics is a dirty game, guys. It really is. Daniel Payne is saying, fast the angry you get. I don't know what that means. Lisa is saying, once things start kicking off, Sean, what will the effects be like in the UK? Let me pin this. So I think you're talking there in response to a conflict in this conflict in Europe. I don't think we can say it's just the conflict in Ukraine anymore, because this is absolutely spilled out now into Poland, Romania, and Estonia. They've all invoked Article 4, so that means they've all got written paperwork now that says, yes, you can shoot aircraft down if these conditions are met, and we will support you. So I would say there's going to be a big rush to get. You see, I think it's going to. I think initially things will move slow, and then there will be a turning point, and things will. In the UK, I'm talking about now. I'm talking about normal day-to-day life in the United Kingdom. When a conflict happens, and when there's world wars, change the world. They do. There's no denying it. A world war will change the world. Everything changes. You can bring in draconian or utopian measures to meet whatever ends or whatever goal you're trying to get to. I think what will happen is, I think they're going to try and, as soon as this war happens, I think they're going to try and push in digital IDs, and they're going to use so many different ways to get people on digital IDs. They're going to say, we need to check you're not a spy. We need to check you're not a saboteur. We need to, you need to have digital ID to get your rations. All that sort of stuff is why they'd be pushing on that digital ID. And it is a good way to get people to do that. Initially, I think it's going to start slow until the boots are on the ground. And, when and I'm trying to speculate now because that's a big question. You know, when things kick off, what will it be like? That, you know, there's a big question. I think I think they will meet. I think when excuse me, when NATO forces meet with Russian forces, and remember, when I'm talking about NATO forces, it's NATO forces minus the United States. The initial headlines that we will get back, everybody will be patting themselves on the back. Everybody, you know, Yvette Cooper will be there. She'll be patting herself on the back, saying, "Yes, yes, our militaries are doing fantastic. Yes, yes, yes." And you know, there'll be all sorts of headlines on the mainstream media. There'll be video footage with like rock music over the top of it, and you know, all sorts of stuff, like really pro-Western military media, and we will be absolutely inundated with it. That'll be for the first month or so. The first month or so, that will happen until everybody runs out of ammunition and we start to take casualties, and then that potency of combat effectiveness isn't that potent anymore. And people are like, there's too many of them. There's literally like thousands of them, Governor. There's thousands of them. And then after a month, you'll stop seeing those headlines. Once you stop seeing those headlines, maybe a month or 2 months after that, you will start to see the opposite. You will then start to see the Russians push back. Now that's the critical point there, guys, because if the West have thrown if you're a fighter and you've thrown your very best combination at another boxer, can you remember when Frank Bruno and Mike Tyson had a fight? And Frank Bruno hit Mike Tyson with a fantastic combination. I think it ended in a left hook. And it just did not touch Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson was like, thanks. Like, if you throw your best combination and your best stuff at someone and they just swallow it up, you're doomed. That's it. You're doomed. Absolutely doomed. Because then what's going to happen is the Russians are going to keep pushing. And before you know it, the Russians will be at Calais. And you think you've seen immigration bad at the moment. Trust me, guys, there's going to be a lot more immigration coming over to the United Kingdom. Sorry, I hope I answered that. I hope I answered that question I hope that question was answered sufficiently. Danny Boy is saying Hungary refuses to stop buying Russian oil. Yeah, so when we talk about buying Russian oil, it's cheap. And, you know, like German heavy industry, for example, is over now. Germany can't get their cheap Russian gas. Because they can't get cheap Russian gas, their heavy industry stopped. They don't have any anymore. They didn't diversify. They built their whole economy on cheap Russian gas. So everything comes from energy, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely everything comes from energy. If I had, I don't know, if this 8-ball was a plot device and this plot device could, could give you free energy, like, I don't know, you could plug something into this and it would give you energy, all the world's problems would be solved because you don't have any problems with an abundant source of clean energy. All wars, everything just stops overnight. Literally, it all stops. There's nothing you can't do with an abundance of clean energy, free energy, but nothing's free. All right, Daniel Payne saying, don't try and type while you're running. It's not good. Sharon Owen is saying, good morning. Stu Hatch is saying, what's your take on all this stuff on the Fabian Society and links to political parties? Okay. So the Fabian Society is let me click this. So the Fabian Society is, it's not a secret society, but it's kind of like a society, a group of people. They are massive socialists. They are like far left. They want socialism and communism, which I don't think is a good thing, because ultimately socialism and communism have unalived more people than any more people have transcended to beams of light under socialism or communism, whatever you want to call it, than anything else. It's just a draconian state. So there hasn't been a Labour Prime Minister there's never been a Labour Prime Minister that's not been part of this Fabian Society. Now, Fabian, I don't know if you guys know this or not. Fabian was a Roman, I think he was Roman or Greek. No, I think he was Roman. Fabian was a Roman general. And what he would do is, rather than fight a big decisive battle, he would just fight little battles on the outskirts, on the peripherals, little battles, little battles, little battles, little battles, and little by little they would win. So the logo on the logo to the Fabian Society is a wolf covered in sheep's clothing. You know, they're telling you exactly what they want. They're telling you exactly what they want to do. I don't think anything good comes from the Fabian Society. Debris Gen X is saying, good morning all, what did I miss? Well, listen guys, I've been telling you how I feel the Foreign Secretary is out of her depth in the United Kingdom. She should not be going to these meetings and making decisions on her own. You know, I just hope she's got good advisors with her. We have got, if you live in the United Kingdom right now, all we have to look forward to is war, taxes, and I guess more immigration. Linda Lou say morning. So Tracy McGregor, Demery, morning. Demery Gen X is saying Fabian Society originally had their logo as a wolf in sheep's clothing. Go figure. Yeah, I think they still have that. Let me look at their website. Actually, let me look at the Fabian's website. I'm pretty sure that's still their logo. So I'm looking at fabians.org now. If it comes up. Oh, yeah. It must have been the old logo. Then I do apologize. Yeah, the new logo is like it just says Fabian Society. Yeah, the old. Sorry, I do apologize. Demery Gen X. It was the old Fabian Society logo that was a wolf with a sheep's, I think it's like a sheep's skin over it. Yeah, I'm looking at the future of the left since 1884. But, you know, I would say the Fabian Society and whatever I don't think we have choice anymore. I really don't. I'm just going to read this. Since Labour was last in power, the number of working age people reporting since Labour was last in power, the number of working age people reporting a disabling condition has increased by 4.3 million, and over 300,000 people leave work with health problems each year. Healthy and inclusive work can help reduce the number leaving employment. Do you know what else helps people stay in employment? Paying them. Paying them. It's not about healthy working conditions. It's not about, making employers pay more tax. It's about paying workers. So, I was talking to my friend, and he was saying the other day, Sean, honestly, after I've paid my mortgage, my car finance, my insurance, after I've paid all the bills, I'm left with nothing. And he's saying, what's the point in me working? Why don't we just go unemployed, be given a free council house because we've got 3 kids, and, we get free money. So the Fabian Society are blaming, I don't know what they're blaming here, but I would argue that the reason a lot of people are not working is because it makes no sense to work right now in modern Britain. Like, why would you work and pay taxes, if you could not work and get a similar amount of money and just lays around all day? And I know people, and I know that's not true for everyone. I do understand that, but right now it does seem, and it does certainly does feel like that. a lot of people who are working, you know, my sister pays a lot of tax. And she was saying, you know, I'm paying all this tax, and like, what do I get back from it? And the you know, the better she does, the more money my sister makes. And you know, she's saying like, the more tax I have to pay. So there's really no incentive for me to push my business and to drive, to take more risk, to employ more people, because ultimately, I only pay this is my sister now. She was saying she only pays herself a small wage. You know, but she's getting taxed to, you know, she's getting taxed to absolute oblivion. Priv Caro is saying, good morning, drones closing down airports in, Norway and Denmark. Okay. Right, so in Norway and Denmark, drones were closing down the airports. I didn't realize. Danny Boy's got a massive comment here. Danny Boy's going wild with this. Danny Boy is saying he thinks NATO will strike a Russian airplane tonight. That is a massive statement, Danny Boy. I'm just going to leave it there. That's what Danny Boy's saying. Debbie1973 is saying, is the Fabian Society the same as the Red Shoe Club? I don't even know what the Red Shoe Club is. What is the Red Shoe Club? Are we talking about this Pizzagate thing? Oh, no. Are we talking about the Red Shoe Society? No, I don't think it's the same thing. The Red Shoe Society is a group of young professionals with a collective goal to help make a difference in the lives of families with seriously ill children. I don't think I don't think it's the same as that. No. Snowdrops is saying, let me pin this. Snowdrops is saying, been to the post office this morning and some men, where's his comment gone? Been to the post office this morning and some men stood about talking about the state of things. Yeah, like everywhere you go, you hear this, like everyone. I was, a while back, I was in the gym and I was listening to, you know, they do classes in the gym and it's like, I don't know, they do the classes in the gym and then afterwards, like some of the people, they'll go and they'll talk and people are just chatting after the thing. I can't remember what I was doing. I think I was like gasping for breath. And I overheard one of the gym instructors talking. And what he was saying is, him and his girlfriend, I think that they said they're not going to move in together yet. That they're not gonna move in together, and he sold his car and he's coming to work now on a bike. And he was saying, so actually we've worked it out, we're actually better off. And I was thinking, that's that defeatist mindset. That is literally the defeatist mindset. What he's actually done there to himself is he's degraded his living standards, but he's lying to himself and saying he's better off. He's not better off. He's just degraded. I mean, if I go and live in the woods, you know, I could say I was better off. You know, I could say I was better off, you know, and I think a lot of people are psychologically just lying to themselves. And Snowdrop saying the whole queue of people all joined in talking about it. Lots more people are waking up. Snowdrops, I hope you told them to come and follow my channel. Jerry McCann was part of the Red Shoe Society. Really? I don't know what this is. The Red Shoe Society is a group of... I'm going to have to look into that because I think I may be getting something different. I mean, I do think when we talk about... I mean, I struggle... I mean, if you look... I'm not even going to go down the Maddie McCann route, guys, because it's like, it's wild. Timsky is saying, morning all, morning to you. Danny Boy is saying, well, I think about what day is today, and it's the 23rd. Iran will strike Israel. Guys, we are coming up with some wild stuff today. So are we saying it's all going to kick off today? Are we saying Iran is going to strike Israel today, and NATO is going to shoot down a Russian jet? I would say they were going to wait through the weekend, because if they do it today, they're going to make less money. D. Marie Gen X is saying, gasping for breath. I do gasp for breath when I'm in the gym. Oh, Snowdrop said, I actually did, Sean. I told them like-minded people are on this chat and it's very informative. Right, I'm going to pin this and I'm going to run to the toilet because I'm absolutely busting for a wee. Give me a second, guys. I'll be back. Oh, and it is getting colder. It's getting colder, ladies and gentlemen. There is no denying that. It's getting colder. Priv Caro is saying, really? Is the rapture coming today? Some Christians are saying that the rapture is coming today. Is that like, really? The rapture is due on the 23rd of September? Hang on, let me Google this. Really? Okay, listen, guys. Yeah, rapture's here. Rapture's here on the 23rd of September. Give over. Why are people? So people are right. This is from mainstream media. Why, Priv Carol? Thank you. Apparently, we've got a rapture today. People are sharing videos about what to do when the end time prophecy called the rapture happens. Evangelical Christians have been sharing warnings and advice on videos on social media in preparation for the potential imminent rapture. End times prophecy, some people believe could happen on the 23rd or 24th of September. Although the current wave of videos have seemingly been inspired by a South African pasture, by South African pastures predictions on YouTube, rapture predictions have also been linked to real-world events, including the Israeli war on Palestinians in Gaza. So what is the rapture, and why are some evangelical Christians predicting the end of the world this week? Here's what to know. Perhaps, right, hang on. So what we're talking about, guys, this is going on. Right, this is deep. Right, I'm just going to read this, guys. Okay, I'm just going to read this. It's considered a prophecy about what will happen during the end of times and before Jesus' return to earth. Followers of rapture theology believe that when the rapture begins, true Christians will rise up into the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. That sounds like alien abduction. At the same time, non-believers, I mean, maybe people are identified by their blood, and that's why people want to keep a pure blood race. at the same time, non-believers will be left behind on earth, where they will endure a series of trials and tribulation, including plagues and fires. Wow. Yeah, so there we have it, guys. You know, the rapture could be starting today, the 23rd of September. Go figure. Go figure. Linda Lewis saying, can the rapture hold off until the 2nd of October when my husband's back? Danny Boy is saying, no, what I'm saying is it's the 23rd and the Feast of Trumpets. Feast of Trumpets. Right. Do you know what? I do know what the Feast of Trumpets is, but I am going to Google it. Because I did a video about the Feast of Trumpets last year. Yeah. The Feast of Trumpets, also known as Yom Teruah or Rosh Hashanah, is a Jewish holiday commanded in the Bible that occurs on the first day of the 7th month. Well, we're not in... Okay, whatever. It's a memorial day blowing trumpets marked by rest of work, the blowing of the shofar. There's a lot of words here that I think they're Jewish words. I can't pronounce them. A special offering to God. In Jewish tradition, it makes the beginning of the civil new year and initiates a 10-day period of repentance and reflection. Well, I guess you would have a 10-day period, wouldn't you? You'd have that 10-day period. Listen, it's all kicking off. There's lots of biblical things happening. Right, yeah, and then Danny Boy saying that's why he thinks the strike will happen today. Hang on, I'm just jumping up for these. We've done that. Sharon Owen is saying, you need to follow Gary Waterman. He will tell you everything you need to know about the Red Shoe Club. I sent him a message. Like a couple of days ago, asking if he wanted to come on a live stream with me. He's not responded yet. Privcaro is saying, I ended up on the rapture side of TikTok and people are giving away their cars and money and stuff. Well, listen, if anybody's got, I can't say that because I'll get a live stream banned. But well, if you want to give your car and your money away, I wouldn't recommend it. I think you should keep that because you may, if the rapture doesn't come, you're kind of going to need your car for tomorrow. And if the rapture does come, you're kind of going to need your car to, I don't know, escape all the, aliens or goblins or zombies, whatever it is. Yeah, and then Timskate is saying, Sean, I've seen Russia have crossed the line. So yeah, just like to give everyone an update, and I don't know if you guys are aware of this or not. There's very little media out coverage of this. On the front line in Ukraine, in fact, this happened on yesterday morning's live. I've always been saying there can't be any ceasefire because I think at very minimum Putin wants to make it up to the River Dnipro. That's over now, guys. I think Putin wants the whole of Ukraine. So the Russians have now jumped over the River Dnipro, and they have. Well, Russian media are reporting that the Russians have taken control of a town just north of Kherson and east of Mykolaiv. Oh, Sharon Owen is saying Gary got arrested. That's probably why he hasn't responded to you yet. I don't want to get arrested, Sharon. If I start talking to this guy, Gary Waterman, is that going to make me? Am I going to get arrested as well? I hope not. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I don't do this enough, and I know I don't. Can you do me a real big favor? If you're on, can you hit those follow buttons up there if you're watching on TikTok? I really appreciate it when you do that, guys. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, can you hit the subscribe button down below? And if you're watching on X, the follow button's right up there somewhere in one of those corners. Because we are triple streaming, ladies and gentlemen. We'll do the first part of this live stream on triple streaming. So we will be on TikTok, we'll be YouTube, and we will be on X. And then when we close the live stream down on TikTok, we will be just streaming exclusively on YouTube and on X. The reason I have to do that is because the algorithm just totally kicks me in, guys. It totally kicks me in. Earlier on I was going to say something, but I wasn't allowed to. So, I had to mind my P's and Q's because of the algorithm. I get banned so many times on TikTok. I've been doing well, actually. I think I've had a run for a couple of weeks where I've managed not to get banned. Anyway, right, I'm going to jump onto the YouTube chat because that is going a bit crackers at the moment. Donna, no, hang on, no. Right, okay, hang on. Is everybody talking to each other? So Silly over on YouTube is saying, have you seen that the Prime Minister of the recognized of Palestine is demanding the UK to pay them $2 trillion? Yes, I have. Look, guys, I don't know if you guys know this or not. I was quite saddened by it last night. It's kind of like, I can't tell you what it's like while I'm on TikTok. So all I'm going to do is give you what's happened. So the Palestinians have been recognized now in the United Kingdom as an independent state. So, they can vote for whoever they want to vote for. And they've got that whole, that whole thing now about them with Palestine and, the United Kingdom. I'm not going to pass judgment on it. But it turns out that the Palestinians now are asking for £2 trillion, or is it dollars? I think, is it dollars or? I can't remember. It's a lot of money anyway. It's a lot of money. So the Palestinians now, as thanks for Britain recognizing Palestine as an independent state, they've said, so we're independent now. Yeah, you're independent. We fought for your independence. Off you go. They're saying, I want $2 trillion. And look, you know what, guys? At this point, I think we should just give it them. Like, honestly, why don't we just go around Britain and giving everybody money? You want to come to the United Kingdom? Everybody, I think, that comes to the United Kingdom, we should just give them $1 trillion. Like, everyone. Shouldn't matter who you are. And I put a comment on, what was it? Let me find this. I don't know if people understand my depths of sarcasm here. Hang on, give me a second. So there was some wokeness on somebody was like being woke, and they were talking about how it's, let me find it. Let me get the comment up. Right. So somebody had put a picture, a little video of Nigel Farage. In fact, I'll let you play I'll play the audio. Give me a second.
Countries in the world. Under a reform government, welfare will be for UK citizens only. It will not be for foreign born nationals. Indeed, we'll become like most normal countries in the world.
So Nigel Farage there is saying that, welfare in the United Kingdom should be for British people. That's what Nigel Farage is saying. He's saying, like, if you're born in, if you identify as I don't know, French, German, Palestinian, because they're an independent state now, Ugandan, wherever, what Nigel Farage is saying, that under a reform government, any welfare or financial assistance you get, we will not give that to foreigners. And somebody's wrote, I put this on X, somebody wrote, this is not an overreaction call to it is not an overreaction to call this what it is. And then she just put racism. And I'm thinking, how is that racist? Like, what he's saying there is, he's not mentioning race. It's absolute race baiting. So I commented underneath. I agree, absolute racism. British welfare should be for everyone, not just the British people. And I put, so what if we have to pay a little bit more tax? And I put #woke. I don't know if people think I'm being serious there. I really don't know if people understand the levels of sarcasm and dry humor. But like, how is that racism? Like, we are going to stop funding. We are going to stop funding people in, I don't know, Germany. This is racism. How is that racism? Like, I don't understand anymore what that even means. You know, I don't think that would happen. I would say it needs to be, I would say that needs to be expanded to first and second generation immigrants as well. Because we have lots of places in the United Kingdom where people just don't speak English. They don't identify as English. They don't, and that's the reality. You know, we have those places in the United Kingdom. So, you know, I don't know if people think I was being serious or not in that. It's because he won't pay tax, insurance, and MOT on his van. Oh, right, okay. So he's been arrested. Right, okay, this guy. Timsky's saying, yeah, it saddened me when the British government said that Palestine will be an independent state. But look, you know, let's just understand why this actually happened, guys. All right. If it hadn't have happened, we would have had scenes like in Italy, like in Italy. That's why it had to happen. We're being held hostage. Demery Gen X is saying 2 trillion to go to fund further things. Lammy would give it to them, no problem. Yeah, I mean, I don't like a lot of this money that goes. A lot of this money that gets given in international aid, it just gets stolen. Does it get stolen? It gets misappropriated, I think is the right word. Misappropriated. Yeah, and Debbie is saying Palestine want money for the period when Britain was in that area. Yeah, they do. You know, I mean, can I? If I identify, listen, guys, listen, we're in a world now where a woman can grow a cervix. Sorry, a man can grow a cervix, and you know, we don't know what a woman is. So if I identify as a Palestinian, am I in for some of that sweet 2 trillion? Dean Gen X saying, yeah, look, guys, I don't think anybody, I don't think anybody thinks it's racist to say that you only get free money if I don't even I don't think there should be a free money thing. If you're claiming some sort, if you can't work, fine, I get it. I think the local government should give people jobs, rather than just giving them free money. There's litter picking to do. There's painting stuff. There is work that people, right? So just for example, right? Just say you're unemployed. You go to the job center or whatever it is, or for your money. And they say, right, okay, so you get 2 weeks grace, and then you're going to have to report, and you're going to be like a council laborer or something. They need to put those people to work, because at very minimum, those people could be helping the community, putting some pride back in that community, because a lot of those people won't have that affinity with where they live. So just for example, say that person X is unemployed. Person X then has to go and tidy up a street where they live or something, or I don't know, paint a school or something. That person then has affinity, and they're like, oh, well, actually, guys, don't throw your rubbish on here. I tidied all this up ages ago. It took me ages. Please don't do that. It's It's kind of why you have to make your kids tidy their bedroom, because if they don't have that affinity and everything's given to them, they're not going to make their lives better. Timsky is saying welfare is only for Spanish nationals unless you pay in. Well, here in the United Kingdom, you don't need to pay in. You just get free money if you come here. Snowdrops are saying, I don't understand how they can recognize Palestine as a state until the hostages are released and peace. I don't think it's, in the grand scheme of things, this recognition of Palestine as a state, I don't think it's going to make any difference at all. The Europeans have no influence in that region. None. We don't have any influence in that region. And again, you know, if you take a step back, look at the things I was saying last year, where the United States are going to go into the Middle East. Doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter what Britain, France, Britain, France, Canada, Australia, I think, it doesn't matter what they say, because they're not involved militarily. They're not really doing anything, so they can say what they want. But again, go back to like some of my previous videos well over a year ago, when I'm talking about these diversions, where the United Kingdom will be very critical of what's happening in the Middle East, and then the Americans are going to be very critical about what's happening in Europe. And that's coming, ladies and gentlemen. So let me just, so we can see this now. We can see this in real time, and we can quantify it. So all Western governments now, European governments, critical about what's happening in the Middle East? Yes, because they've identified and they've said Palestine is its own independent state. So diversions, Europe, critical of what's happening in the Middle East, tick in the box. That one's done, dealt with. We're dealing with that. Now, are the Americans critical about what's happening in Europe? Not yet, kind of, but not yet. What I think is going to happen, and I'm quite confident on this, I think there will be a NATO first strike. And when that NATO first strike happens, the United States will say, listen, we were going to support you if you guys were attacked by Russia, but you guys have attacked a Russian aircraft that was on a trading mission, the pilot was lost, whatever, and then they're going to say, we're not getting involved. And that's how the diversion is going to happen. Mark this video, ladies and gentlemen, because that's where I believe we're heading. Timsky is saying the last time they gave Palestinians money, they dug tunnels and armed themselves. Snowdrops is saying we're the only country that does it. France and Germany and others don't. Yeah, and this is why people are coming here. This is why people are coming here in their droves. Jomase Po is saying, I'm worried New Zealand is going to recognize Palestine. People are telling the government no. I don't think it really matters, guys, in the grand scheme of things. Whether there's a little stamp on a piece of paper, I don't think there's going to be much left pretty soon. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are on, I will be jumping over to YouTube pretty quickly within the next 5 minutes. I'm the Real Raven 1 on YouTube. I'm the Real Raven 1 on X, and I will be jumping over to that pretty soon. Donna is, oh, hang on. Sonia Barras, I almost said Sonia Badass then. Sonia Barras is saying, does anyone think the Prime Minister is doing everything to destroy this country? Is he getting paid to do it? I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to leave that on the chat, and I am going to talk about that as soon as I jump over and we start talking. Hang on a minute. Right, Chris White. Who are you talking about there? I don't know who Chris White's talking about there. Is he talking about? I think I'm not going to repeat it, but guys, listen. The chat's wild again on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. If you're on YouTube, please keep your don't swear. Don't swear. Don't say anything rude. Just try and be calm and polite and courteous, you know, don't swear, don't be rude to anyone, and don't be aggressive. You know, you will get a lot more. You will articulate, if you can articulate yourself better. I mean, I had some people on here, you know, calling me out, and I was conversing with them, and I'm not saying anyone's doing that on the chat now. You know, I had some people calling me out on the internet. It's very difficult when you're doing it with the chat, and they were just like, it's very difficult to deal with people that are just shouting and that won't listen to your points. And all it does is show you that you just can't deal with some people. You can't negotiate with some people. And, you know, you just can't, you know. So when those circumstances happen, and you know that you can't deal with people, you know, you can't negotiate with people, you just have to take a deep breath. And you have to do whatever's necessary. So I will get the rest of the comments on TikTok, and then I'll jump over. Timsky is saying most of Europe are now recognizing Palestine. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, I don't think, who recognizes Palestine at the moment, because especially in Europe, the Europeans have got no influence in that region, like nothing. Snowdrops is saying you can't talk to them kind of people, Sean. They don't listen and think they're always right and everyone else is wrong. Yeah, you know, and they come up with these, like, you know, they come up with these really peculiar ways to end an argument, and normally it ends in aggression. And that, you know, and that is what it is. It says a lot more about the person that you're arguing with than you. But normally they'll come up with something really stupid. Like I remember this guy in the army, and you couldn't argue with him. It was virtually impossible, because, like, if you was arguing with him, and this is a good example actually. If you was arguing with him and he'd lost the argument, you had articulated every point and he was wrong. He would say this, yeah, but you're not a Scouser, are you, la? And he'd walk off, and he'd think that he'd won the argument there. He'd think, oh, yeah, you're not a Scouser though, are you, la? And you think, like, no, mate, I'm literally, we need to do this stuff. Like, are we going to do it, or are we just going to say that you're a Scouser, so, like, you get a free pass? You know, so it is very difficult to argue with some people when they just don't, when they won't listen, and they won't listen to other people's opinions. It's very difficult. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close you guys down on TikTok. I will be jumping over to YouTube and continuing this stream. The crux of this video has been, and I don't know what you guys are going to be talking about on the chat, the crux of this video has been the government in the United Kingdom are out of their depth. I don't think anything good is coming in the foreseeable future. It looks like we're getting more taxes and war. And I guess that's all we've got to look forward to right now if you live in the United Kingdom. So I'm going to close this down now, guys. I want to keep this relatively short because I've got absolutely loads of work to do. I need to get back on the roof. I've got to go and get a new saw to start cutting wood. I've got all sorts of stuff to do. Before I go, ladies and gentlemen, if you like this content, hit those things up there. If you're on TikTok, guys, with all these people that are coming into houses and stuff, go and look on my showcase and look at those cameras we've got on. Those cameras are really good. The pan tilt, you can pan them and you can tilt them. They're on the internet. They're fantastic. So go and have a look at those on our showcase, guys. And if not, I will see you guys later tonight at 8 or just before. Right. Okay. So Sonia Barras is saying, does anyone think that the Prime Minister is doing everything to destroy this country? He is getting paid to do it. Right, Sonia, I don't know if you're watching this for the first time. We have spoke about this. We're in one of the phases of subversion, where so there are 4 phases of subversion. You need to demoralize a country, then you need to destabilize it, then you put it into a crisis, and then you take it over. That's well documented. That is, you guys can search this. That's Yuri Bezmenov's 4 phases of ideological subversion. If you learn subversion somewhere else, they may have more phases, but go with those four. Keep things simple. I always like to keep things simple. You know, somebody was talking the other day about military patrolling and they were giving all these different types. I was like, no, stop, there's three. We're not talking about military, we're talking about subversion. So in the first phase of this phase, what you would do, Sonia, you have to demoralize a country. Tell them they're bad. Tell them they're bad. Tell them everything they stand for is bad. And I would speculate this has been done already in the United Kingdom, and this started around about 1962. Then you want to start destabilizing that country. This takes a long time to do. To destabilize a country, what you do is you fund fringe groups, you cause riots, you cause protests, you cause divisional groups, black and white, brown and black, men and women. You try and fracture society with as many different groups and subgroups as you can. Then you say, fight each other, fight each other. When everybody starts to fight each other, that's when you head into a crisis phase. And, you know, I thought we would put our tiptoes into the crisis phase this summer. We didn't, although I think we was very close to. When that crisis phase happens, normally a foreign power, this is normally when the Russian tanks would roll over the border, they would take control, they would normalize, they would secure everything. Yes, we are normalization. We are bringing peace and stability through normalization of critical infrastructure. Obviously, that can't happen in the United Kingdom because they won't get over the water. But what can happen is we could have a US takeover of the United Kingdom. So like Sonia's saying there, you know, Pierre Starmer's doing everything to destroy this country. If the country is so far destroyed, if the country is so far gone, we're just screaming out for someone to come and save us. And Donald Trump says, do you guys want a little constitution? We can give you some constitution and some security. Then people will scream, yes, yes, please, which leads on to what I've been saying about the United Kingdom becoming part of the United States. So, yes, Sonia, yes, I hope I answered that question sufficiently. What's your take on the drones in Denmark? Well, I looked at this morning. There really isn't much information out about it. Only drones have been seen over the airports. I think it's not just Denmark. I think it's Norway as well. I don't have enough information on this to make an informed decision. In fact, let me see if any more information has come out while we've been on. Right, 43 minutes ago. Let's have a look. Denmark's biggest, yeah. I'm trying to get some pictures, guys. I'm not really interested in what they're saying. Yeah, they're not. I can't give anything on that. I really can't give anything on that. I don't know enough information about it. There's no pictures of it. I mean, it could be a whole host of things, really. It could be near-peer adversaries working in and around that area, trying to test defenses. It could just be some kids messing about. I don't know whether these were fixed-wing drones. I don't know whether they were quadcopters. I don't know, like they're saying they're 2 or 3 large drones. I don't know what that means, guys. Like, what is a large drone? Like a Globe Hawk? That is a large drone for me. You know, also like a Maverick DJI. What is it? DJI. I can't remember. So I haven't got enough information, and there's not been enough information released for me to give an update on that. Emma is saying they have apparently arrested 2 people, but not the controllers of the drones in Norway, but no one's been arrested in Copenhagen. Again, you know, I don't know. I don't have enough information on this. Can you guys remember when I gave you told you guys what was happening with the drones in America, in New Jersey? Literally, after seeing the footage, for about 30 seconds, I told you exactly what those drones over New Jersey was. Unfortunately, here, guys, I just don't have any images. I don't have any information to work off. I don't have any information. I can't really give an analysis on that. Emma Green is saying, go on to the sun. Right, get me? I hope you don't mean the sun that's in the sky. Right, okay. I'm on the sun. Yeah, I'll accept all cookies. All right, there's a video. Right, okay. You can't really make anything out there. I mean, that. Okay, so they've got it's a fixed. It looks like it appears to be a fixed wing. Yeah, I can just see lights in the sky. I can't really. Yeah, I can't really make anything out. I mean, they've got lights on, so it's clearly they want to be seen. So they're not trying to cause. So they're not trying to cause. What's the word I'm looking for? They're not trying to cause damage. They're not trying to cause death or injury because they've got their lights on. But what I will say is, you know how catastrophic it is if a jet engine has a bird strike in the engine. It's really bad for the engine. Can you imagine if these drones, as the big jets are setting off, one of these fixed wing comes on, whacks, just kamikazes itself into the engine? Game over for that aircraft. Jeremiah is saying Denmark and Russia are the only ones who came to the aid of King James. Well, lucky for King James. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to cut this short this morning. I have got loads of housework to do. The weather's starting to close in, so I'm starting to flap. I've got not roof repairs. We've got I have to do a lot of work on my chimney because it does leak. So I'm always like getting up there and painting it and filling the cracks in and doing the pointing. I've got to finish that off today. I've got to go and buy a saw. What else have I got to do? I've got to change the living room round because we have the living room one way for summer, so we can look out the doors, and then in the winter we have it another way, so we're around the fireplace. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to keep this short. I'm going to close it down now. War and taxes does look like the only thing that we've got to look forward to. I think these drones over Copenhagen and Denmark and Norway are, I don't know what they are. The headline here is saying, Putin in the skies, mystery large drones that halted Copenhagen flights were Russian, Zelensky says, as Putin risks World War III with air invasions. There's no evidence that I've seen that says that these things are Russian. If they were Russian, I would say, what are they doing there? What's the purpose? If they're trying to gather intelligence, why would they have their lights on? If they were trying to, I don't think you can, unless you've got a radar return, and the size of those drones, you wouldn't be able to fly them from Russia. So I don't know where they're getting that information from. So obviously, big airplanes, big fuel tank, big range. Small drone, small airplane, small fuel tank, small range. Now, if somebody has tracked these, taking off from Russia, then doing their mission and then flying back to Russia, fair enough. Release that radar data, and people can understand it for themselves. To say that they're Russian, I don't know, guys. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying I don't know where that information's come from. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close this down now. I will be back on at 8. Or just before.